Alright, here we go.
Not this place.
You know where we are?
In a fucking lagoon? How many times I gotta tell you people, I don't like water!
Solid action-adventure games that focus on a linear, story-driven single-player experience have become increasingly rare. After Marvel's Avengers, Square Enix's last superhero game left a sour taste in many people's mouths. The expectations for Guardians of the Galaxy were pretty low. But Eidos-Montréal, the developers behind the modern Deus Ex games, steered this franchise into a completely different direction. No multiplayer, no microtransactions, no grinding for loot, and no open world. Instead, you get a visually stunning 20-hour-long action-adventure game with an amazing story that surprisingly turned out to be one of the best releases this year. "12 years after an intergalactic war that left its mark on the entire galaxy, the recently formed Guardians of the Galaxy plan to catch a monster in a quarantine zone to make some money and build their reputation. While some of them were reluctant to enter a forbidden zone in fear of a hefty fine, they soon find themselves facing a far bigger threat that once again puts everyone in danger. In order to live up to their name, they quickly need to learn to overcome their differences and work together as a team."
So, how long's this gonna take?
I'm gonna need your help.
Sure.
Alright, just stand right here.
Okay.
Perfect.
For the entirety of the game, you play as Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. And while this may sound disappointing at first, it actually makes a lot of sense for both the story and the gameplay. As the leader of the Guardians, you try to keep the team together, make important decisions, and issue orders in combat. Peter's blasters are pretty weak, and even though over time you do gain further abilities and perks like an active reload, rapid fire, and elemental shots, your main task is to tell your teammates which abilities to use next. Each Guardian has 4 abilities, one of which unlocks quite early on. Groot roots enemies to the ground, Rocket deals AoE damage with bombs, Drax staggers enemies, and Gamora deals heavy damage with her sword. The rest of the skills can be unlocked with ability points you gain during combat. In most areas, there are points of interest where you can trigger environmental attacks, like Drax tossing explosive barrels or Rocket triggering bombs. Peter can also make the team gather up and inspire them by choosing the correct motivational speech for their current mood. This not only resets the ability cooldowns and revives the team, but also brings up one of the amazing 80s songs from the soundtrack. Say what you will, but fighting a ginormous monster to the sound of Wham's "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" is highly entertaining. While combat isn't exactly challenging and in my opinion the weakest part of the game, it's still a lot of fun. Bigger fights might get a little chaotic as you dodge, lock onto enemies, shoot them with your blasters, give commands and hit button prompts for follow-up attacks. But in most cases you can just spam abilities and don't need to be strategic in order to win. More enemy variety where some enemies could only be damaged by certain Guardians would have made combat a lot more interesting. Again, the combat isn't bad. I had a lot of fun with it, especially later on with all abilities unlocked. But if you're mainly interested in the game because of the fights, the lack of a challenge, even on the highest difficulty, might disappoint you. The main selling point for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is the story. It's not only excellently written, but also perfectly sold by the characters through top-notch voice acting and solid motion capture. In this game, the characters are constantly talking, and I really mean that. There's rarely a moment of silence. They are always either planning a mission, reminiscing about past events, commenting on combat, or exchanging banter. The sheer amount of dialogue is quite unique, and the quality of it makes this really impressive. Just like you would expect, the dialogues are full of humor, but there's also a surprising amount of deeply emotional scenes. The writers got the backstories, relationships, and personalities of the Guardians and supporting characters just right, and somehow I ended up liking them even more than their movie counterparts. While the main story is linear and the places you visit are always the same, the decisions you make sometimes impact how a scene plays out. Although most of your choices just come down to role-playing as Peter Quill and getting different reactions from your teammates. The locations are stunningly beautiful and diverse, with an impressive level of detail and a perfect use of colors and light. Every area looks and feels unique, so that you're always looking forward to the next alien world to explore. Just like the rest of the game, exploration is fairly linear, with some hidden collectibles off the beaten path. You can find skins, logs, special items that unlock unique conversations, and crafting components that can be used to acquire new perks for Peter, like extra health and shield, the aforementioned rapid reload, or the ability to scan your surroundings. During exploration, you will often come across obstacles that need to be cleared by one of the Guardians. For example, Groot can create wooden bridges, Rocket can hack terminals, and Drax can lift heavy items and punch through walls. None of these puzzles are challenging in any way, and they are a bit overused, but they make exploration more entertaining for quite a while. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy was a relatively smooth experience for me. There were some minor visual glitches, 2 crashes, and a conversation with Gamora that blocked progress, but nothing that couldn't be fixed with a restart. If I had to complain about one thing, it's that dialogues are cut off whenever you move into the next section. It often made me walk very slowly or wander around in circles so I wouldn't miss anything. In addition to the perfect selection of licensed 80s hits, the game also includes an epic orchestral soundtrack by Richard Jacques and an extremely catchy hard rock album by Star-Lord, the not-so-fictional band that is the inspiration for Peter Quill's superhero name in this version of his origin story. Overall, I highly recommend this game to every Marvel fan, and to newcomers who love action-adventure games. If you're mainly looking for challenging fights or weighty choice and consequence system, this one is probably not for you. But for everyone else, the excellent story and characters, fun combat, stunning alien worlds, and amazing soundtrack make this a highly enjoyable game that makes me hope for a sequel. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.